Come on in, my neighbor, my friend. It's a beautiful day. The sun came out, and you are in the meeting with me, Brian Westward. It's my duty, my supreme duty, every Sunday, even on Palm Sunday, Easter Sunday, any Sunday. I'm here to give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to keep you informed. Your daily dose of vitamin news, which you may need to understand what's happening in the world, what's happening around you. And one thing you will notice is that the sun came out this morning. It came out through all of the craziness we may see on this planet, through all of the hatred, the killing, and the fighting amongst human beings, the animals. The sun came out, and it rises in the sky, gives us light, so we can see. It's amazing, and I was able to hunt down 8 top stories to give you in the mediator. The sun is shining through the window here at the radio station. I wish everybody could see it. I came in here, and when I seen the sun, I said, "Wow!" And not everybody's Christian. Some people have different faiths, but any sane man, when he sees the sun come out, he's thankful. Some people choose to wear less when the sun comes out. Some people put more clothing on and decide to. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful that the sun came out. A lot going on in the world. A lot happening. Like I said, if you want to, let me give you the spill. If you want to help out during the show, if you want to see the stories that almost made it in, or if you want to contribute in any way, or if you want to check out the show during the week, I usually upload it after. If you can't get all of it today, and you want to check out the show, I usually upload it to the website at www.methodinc.com. My entire life, I've tried to serve. I've tried to do the right thing. I've failed a few times, but like my mom always would tell me, Brian, you get up and you rise. You rise. You get up. You fall down. Clean yourself off. You make mistakes. As a young child, and that's mainly what what I got out of these 8 stories this week, is that human beings, we try, and some of us listen, some of us are hard-headed, some of us are devious, but in the end, most of us start to see the light, and it humbles us, and it makes us appreciate the fact that we've made it far, we've made it further, and we've finally starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It is in every faith. Some of them practice redemption more. It's mainly practiced in the Christian faith. It's mainly practiced about redeeming and falling down and doing the right thing and trying to get your life back on track. Some of them practice it in the Buddhist faith, karma. Some of them, in different religions, there's always a chapter. But in today's show, the most thing you probably can get is the fact that you do have a choice, and every day you rise up and you see the sun come out. You have another chance in this life. Let me read a disclaimer real quick. These top 8 stories are only documented for records and to highlight topics for those in the business of talk radio, talk media, and those who just want to stay informed. Now, folks, it's time to get to the top 8 stories. Like I said, if you want to contribute in any way during the show, all you have to do is visit method8inc.com, method8inc.com. One thing I refuse to do, folks, is I refuse to let go of just my belief in the positive. I'm very optimistic about the United States. I'm very optimistic. Through thick and thin, people have wanted freedom. Slaves, all different types of faiths, have been eager for freedom, for peace in their environment. And they've always seen, whether it's white, black, whether it's red, white, blue, if they see that symbol, some people, and I don't mean this, I'm not trying to be divisive of any way. I'm trying to get people to understand that there's some things in life that you can see, the colors, the scheme, the patterns, and it'll give you some instinct. And I remember serving. I was serving in my entire life. Just I had a family member serving, grandfather, my stepdad, the man who raised me, my uncles, and I was always the inspirational child, always trying to find something positive. But I was raised in the streets. I had a street life. It was tough. It was always something going on, and it's just it was. But every time I would find something to inspire me, I would find another reason to get up in the morning, and that was time that we get to these top eight because you may learn something about the just the nation that you live in, or it may inspire you more to get on track to this thing that we call freedom and justice, liberty, life. I mean, the pursuit of it, happiness. This is why it brings us to story number one. Story number one, folks: rap, sports, video games, education, and entertainment. Like I said during the show, if you want to contribute at any time, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or just sponsor a program. If you're new to the show, this is the show where I go through the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that make it throughout the week. And I am on story number one: rap, sports, video games, education, entertainment. We've just watched. If people haven't been keeping an eye on the news, there was another artist who was killed recently. And there was another gunman who was they said at a studio where another recording artist was recording at. It was Waka Flocka, and a lot of these people are mourning. We've watched entertainers pass and we've watched top entertainers like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson. We've watched country stars go. We've watched a lot of just people passing, and we see all this strife, but in my show, I've always tried to give people an even ball field to understand what was happening. There's a lot of conspiracies that are surrounded by entertainers and their lifestyles, their music, and the reality of it. If you really dig deep into the sports arena, the education, the entertainment, the reality on the ground level is that it is a grimy business. It is. You have to have bodyguards for a reason. You have to watch what you sign. And there is a possibility that every promise that's made in that contract or in that lifestyle is not going to be made. And they're saying at this rapper's funeral that there was a person, I guess at the memorial, there was somebody shot. There was still more violence, and you see these videos surfacing of artists crying and people showing their sympathy to the families. And then you look at some of the things like 24 people killed in Chicago and less than. So you look at these, even in my own communities, children, people, young people have just starting out life. The way they dress, the way they act, the way they respond to things, and parents and analysts, observers, academics from all angles sit back and they may wonder how this culture, or is this something that is deeply rooted in America, and they ask themselves, is it a problem? Now, you talk to people like the greats, the founders of hip hop. You talk to people like KRS-One. You talk to people like Run DMC, and you ask them about the art, and they're still inspired by it. You listen to the music from that time frame. I mean, the tune would uplift people in the streets. It would give, I was raised in Youngstown. I was come from a lot of hostile things. I'm not perfect. I chose to try to better myself every day. I had to encourage, and I still have to encourage myself. I've seen some things in my life, but the thing is that you rise. I hear people at funerals, they're weeping, and you look at what happened with Tupac and people like Biggie Smalls. You look at what happened with R. Kelly and some of these artists, and how they're surrounded, how they're looked at, and how some people look up to them, and some people, and then you look at people like Farrakhan blaming the Jewish people for supporting. So there's all different types of avenues that you can take when you approach these markets. You look at children and video games and how a lot of children are pretty addicted to video games. And you look at the education system, and you look at the scandals that have been going on in the education system. And you look at just the way it's structured, what can happen on college campuses, spring breaks, how so many babies are made and out of just complete people claiming they're having fun and having a good time. And you sit back and you ask yourself, is this good for mankind? Is this good for people to have a culture of is it fun? As a child, me myself, I had guns pulled out on me at parties. I've watched my cousins fight. We've gotten fights. I've had to get in fights. I get beat up a few times, just stole on for no particular reason. I thought people was my friend. So I've seen this lifestyle, and it's crept its way into the top 8 stories. It's a very, very jungle lifestyle. You create a sixth sense because you don't know who's plotting or who's gonna get you next. And then you see the atmosphere and the hunger for the when I was a kid, they used to have this show on MTV. It was called Cribs, and every kid wanted this type of lifestyle. Wanted to be filthy rich, have all this money, and it feeds into your ego as a child. You don't listen to anything. You don't listen to what anybody is telling you. And you believe that you have all the answers. You don't listen to what a preacher is telling you. Money and fame is going to solve everything. And then you listen to the poetry of what the songwriter is telling you. And they're trying to tell you about the fun of just being yourself. And some people don't even listen to the words. They're caught up in the hype. And as I was reading these stories, I said, if these deceased artists, if in their genuine art, if they could tell the next generation anything, they probably would try to tell them is just be yourself and try to be a better person. So it leads us into a lot of other things, like what's been going on in the NCAA. A lot of these players are playing the game because they actually care. You look at what's happening in LA with the Lakers, about Magic Johnson stepping down, and you look at some of the players, the fact that LeBron James, he did make it to the playoffs this year. The spotlight is on a lot of these athletes, and a lot of them are. Like I used to watch Jordan. You look at some of these athletes. You look at Tiger Woods right now. Look at the amount of just the amount of weight that you have on your shoulders just being an athlete. So these stories are surfacing in the news, and they're creating buzz because these people have to get up every morning, just like the average person, and they have to inspire themselves somehow, some way, to try to rise above all of everything. You lose people. I was looking at Mike Tyson's story. Mike Tyson was probably at the bottom of the barrel. People think he's crazy, probably thinking some of the things that he said, but if you actually listen to what he's saying, he just has a different way of communicating. These people have seen things in their lives that the average person wouldn't survive. And they have inspirational stories, but if you get anything out of Easter, out of Palm Sunday, out of somebody's life, you look at the churches. Churches are not getting the donations, the contributions. Some of them are probably wondering how other churches are surviving. Just the ministry. And you ask yourself, how do they stay inspired? Is it? And it lets you know that the human being, the soul, the spirit, can do amazing things. If you that's what you. I mean, you look at some of these college students have nothing. but a book to study. They don't even, some of them, most, they tell you about, you go to college, most of them don't even make it. Had to suffer through a bad marriage, so I didn't make it to my graduation. But they still, and some people drop out. And in some play, look at these NCAA players. All of them make it some of them make it to the tournament. They never see a paycheck, and some of them never see a paycheck at all till they get to, if they make it to the league. Probably like 1 out of 10 athletes that you see playing sports will never see a payday. They keep having to play. They're playing for scholarships. And then you look at some of these things that go on campus, like they talk about how the police had to use tear gas to clear up Texas Tech for fans after a victory, and you look at what happened in the March Madness. This happens almost all the time where fans just go nuts, destroying things. You look at this culture of what we call fun in America, and then you ask yourselves at the end of the day. You look at all of the stories, and you ask yourself: is it just a culture that maybe doesn't need to change? Who knows? Or do we keep having to keep going down the same route? And that's what story number. When you look at rap music, you look at sports, video games, education, entertainment. You look at the views. Some women in entertainment have to get a lot of plastic surgery. They're not happy with themselves. They're on drugs. Some of them don't. Some of them feel like they've sold their soul to Satan. To say, I mean, they have no. Some of them just. So it's a different type of lifestyle. It is happening over. I mean, you look at even some of the porn stars, they talk about how their life is when they're into this industry, how it is, and how they wish they'd never got into it. You look at it, I mean, most males, even myself, we've all engaged in, they say that probably out of 1 in 10 males, 1 in 10 women, we all engage in these activities. It's just it's a part of human nature. We've all failed at this. But you ask yourself, how can it get better? Like I said, I came into the show and the sun was out. I was afraid to talk about. So I'm always trying to be very sensitive how I talk about things because each story leads into another direction. But the thing is that sun came out. It keeps coming out every day. So we have to go on. And I have to go on to story number 2. If you want to contribute any way, you're in the meeting with me, Brian Westwood. It's my supreme duty every week. As a child, I was placed up to the sun, told to mediate through combat, through a lot of things, everything, even in the Navy. Peacemaker, you have to navigate the difference between right and wrong, and stay in the middle, Brian. Stay in the middle. If you want to contribute, if you want to help me out, any way I have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com. I'm trying to give you a positive feeling. Negative feelings, if you're shooting them out through the airwaves, there's a probably higher result that you're going to give negative results. So hopefully this positive energy that I try to give every Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. can get you up out of bed in the morning, some sunshine. I do my best. Like I said, I have to get in the mirror constantly every day, telling myself that I can achieve great things in my life and that I can be a better person. So if you want to help out, anyway, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com. Just buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, which leads us into story number 2 is, how did America get caught up in the health bubble? Folks, the fact of everything is that we're all going to go someday, but this health thing is starting to catch a lot of people's attention. There were some body parts that were being sold on the black market. The bad part about it is that they had diseases. People have been trafficking body parts. No, this is not the movie Alita. This is real life. People have actually got caught trying to sell people's body parts on the black market with diseases. People are doing some amazing things to get money. So, like I said at the beginning of the show, we have to ask ourselves is, how did this culture emerge where things just we just started developing this jungle mentality. It didn't just happen overnight. Anybody who plays a record from, you take it from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, you will see a drastic change, folks. And you don't, I'm not telling you this out of, I'm just telling you this out of complete wisdom, that there was something changed in the culture of America where the grind spirit just started grinding everything up in its path. And you have to ask yourself is, how did the brown snow start falling in the Midwest? How did it become contaminated? How did an Ebola problem become global? Obviously, there's death. If you don't know what causes a disease, dead bodies cause the disease when it's not cleaned up properly. Any doctor will tell you that. And a lot of doctors are not happy with the current system. If you do not believe me, ask your current doctor what he feels about constantly giving people medications and knowing it's not helping them. Folks, there's a reality going on, and you have to ask yourself is, how did this culture change? You went from I believe it was the Hippocratic Oath, vowing to save people's lives, to wondering why nurses are stealing medication and selling drugs, or why some doctors have resulted in having to sell drugs to patients who are addicted to them. Folks, things have changed big time. Back in the day, you may have just got a slap on the wrist, told to go get some rest, and you were back at it. But now, things are happening inside the medical industry. Doctors are heavily exhausted. They are shorthanded, and it's becoming a reality because cases like measles are starting to emerge. And any doctor will tell you where there is disease, there has to be vaccinations, and there has to be a big supply. Folks, I'm telling you right now, there's a road, and there's one path that's very, very dark, and there's one path where there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Some people are driving this ship very, very blind, and I'm not lying. New York City declares measles a public emergency, and they are blaming fake science. New study says that vitamins and minerals won't help you live longer and could cause harm. And there's also a bill being forced on college campuses to provide abortion pills. Yes, let me repeat myself. They're trying to provide abortion pills in California. You have to ask yourselves, how did this happen? There was once upon a time where we lived in a state of mind to where we were trying to be united, trying to fight for something, trying to believe in something, trying to do the right thing, where education was valued. Somehow, some way, we've somehow drifted into a different pathway. It's not just politics, it's not just entertainers, but people. I've always listened to I listen to a lot of inspirational songs. And I listen to a lot of hard knock songs, a lot of hard notes. It just depends on what mood I'm in. But one thing that I can say is that if the poet has something to talk about, there's a high possibility that I'm going to listen. But the sun came out this morning, so I have to move on to story number 3. If you want to contribute anyway, visit www.method8inc.com. You're in the meeting with me, Brian Westward. It's my supreme duty to give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. And these top 8 stories are always documented on our website at www.method8inc.com. So if you can't catch it today, you want to tune in, you're welcome to go to the website. If you want to help out, all you have to do is buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Story number 3. Is the corporate global boom backfiring on the United States? Troubling news, folks. Troubling news. Although the United States has been giving, although our corporations have went overseas and spread the knowledge and the wealth of the United States business plan, it turns out that some countries have been stealing this knowledge, hacking into businesses, business computers. And there have been officials and people who have known about it for quite some time. And we ask ourselves as Americans, the home of the brave. There's a song, "Oh Say Can You See," by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming. I hope I'm getting these words right. And I believe it is a little bit, and the home of the brave. So we ask ourselves, does that mean? It means the citizens uniting, coming together. There's some inspiration in this story. But it turns out that I was looking at some of this, and you look at communist countries, and you ask yourselves, there's a waiting line outside of communist job forces. It could be Apple might be in town, or pardon me for using some names, but some people who have businesses overseas, but what they're saying in this story is that our corporate, I wouldn't like to use the word greed, but our corporate hunger for money and to build an empire has somehow been biting us, the common working man. This is a serious story. And there is $57 million a year in that China has been deliberately taking from the United States. That means that they've been deliberately hacking the United States businesses. They've been hacking into their computers, stealing their intellectual property, stealing their business techniques, and they've been building an empire that has got them catching up to the United States. They've been building businesses in Africa. If you do not believe me, look up a story. I believe it's on the website that talks about how there are Africans who can speak Chinese. How did this happen? So under the ground, companies have been going overseas, getting cheap labor, and underneath the rug, the government, the communist government, has been taking that intellectual property and using it for their own good, to build their own empire. So you have to ask yourselves, where are we headed, folks? And right now, you look at the country, everybody's so divided. They're not talking about anything that is real right now. They're talking about Democrats, Republicans, what Trump did, what Trump did. No, there are some real things that have been happening while we've been sleeping, getting fat. But there's always the waking the sleeping giant. So we have to ask ourselves in this country, is the business structure, is it fair or is it too competitive? Folks, there have been something even going on in our own business environment. Yes, the Hungry Bull has not only been overseas, but it's been in its own environment where people have had to lose everything because of aggressive business tactics. Family businesses closed. And people wonder why the American spirit is so bitter right now. Big, booming corporations coming in town and deciding they're just going to close up shop, when all the while they know what has been going on the global scale. You have to ask yourself, have we been sold out as citizens? You have to ask yourselves, is the stars and the stripes that we see, is it still worth fighting for? Then we see all these stories emerging about police brutality and all this stuff, but when you look at the where the money is coming from, we have a billionaire who has embraced the White House. He has took most of his business practices, took them overseas, dealt with Deutsche Bank and all. So you have to ask yourself, as Americans, folks, and you look at the state of this economy, and even locally, Northeast Ohio, policies. While you were sleeping, folks, there's been some things going on. Buy something on the internet. People have been reporting that when they buy things online, they all of a sudden notice that they're on some email list. But listen to this. American retailers have suffered so much. Even restaurants. Friendly's is closing up to 23 Northeast locations. Has anyone heard from Toys R Us? A store chain that I thought would last forever. Great business idea. Did you know that Victoria's Secret's owner, the original owner, committed suicide? He was going through marriage problems, and the business plan that he had took off. That's not even him. Real story, true story. The business environment is so aggressive in the United States that I can guarantee that if somebody put a photo print shop in their neighborhood, you will see another big corporation come and eat up and gobble you up step on you like a little ant. A hacker blackmailed nearly 1 million, porn websites. And then he spent the money on prostitutes. So you have to ask yourselves, the spirit, as we approach this Resurrection Sunday, this is Palm Sunday, how will we rise from this, folks? 11 retailers have filed for bankruptcy, and many more have resorted to liquidation in 2019. What is the government doing? The government wants to regulate the internet. And they want the consumer to pay for it. Did you know the tallest buildings in the world are not being built in the U.S. anymore? Well, like I said, the sun will rise tomorrow morning, and I have to go on to story number 4. If you want to contribute anywhere you're in the media, me, Brian West, we're at the halfway point. If you want to help out, all you have to do is visit method8inc.com, method8inc.com. I come in here and I'm tight roping, folks. I get on this tightrope every Sunday. I've been doing this radio thing for a long time. I just started out with a few books, and I just kept at it. I kept telling myself I just have to keep reading every article. Next thing you know, they just started coming to me. And I started getting divine. I started rising up and seeing the sun. And I said, must be what I'm meant to do in my life. Even as a child, I'm making songs about the radio and about how I wanted to find a girl who liked the radio. And next thing you know, I'm just starting to realize that maybe this is my destiny. Maybe this is what I was made to do. So I pay big wages. So if you want to help out anyway, if you want to be a partner, help me out. It doesn't take much. I try to give back more than I take in, but that's just my style of living. I believe in positive thinking. I'm not a perfect man. If I told you I was perfect, I'd be lying to you. I'm not perfect. But if you want to help out anyway, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Every show is uploaded throughout the week. There's also news stories that you can catch on the website if you want to know the top 8. But we have to ask ourselves in story number 4, as we get to story number 4, who is spying on us and why? I was telling you about how people wonder how these sites know so much about their consumer habits and who's collecting all this data. We've seen story after story about companies selling people's data for political gain, and how China has been hacking into U.S. businesses. And you have to ask yourself, as a normal citizen, how are you protected? If your government, how did this couldn't have just happened overnight. There were bodies, people moving engines here. People who were moving paper. Work just doesn't. You have to generate work for something to happen. So we have to ask ourselves. There was a report that claimed that Amazon their Alexa is listening to conversations. This story surfaced. It's been in the news quite a bit. And then we had a story that popped up about the Homeland Security chief resigning. And then there's tons of conspiracy. You talk to any conspiracy guru right now, there are some things happening underground, folks, and that's why it's always good to be informed. I'm telling you, you got to be informed. You ask yourself, you look at old stories when they had, I believe it was probably early 2000s when we had the Bush era, the second Bush, George W. Bush, and he was talking about, I believe it was. They were talking about wiretapping people's phones and listening to conversations. And then I was, you have to ask yourself, how do we rise from this? How do we get over this hump? And many people believe, I was listening to an interview with John McCain's wife, and she was talking about how the border a wall at the border isn't going to solve anything, because the people who have infiltrated the border are already in America. The drug smugglers and the human traffickers are already in America. I think she has a good point that a border really cannot account for a problem that we face as human beings. It's a moral problem, and we get this mentality. We just have it in us to conquer, and you ask yourself, is how did America, which has so much to offer, become such an enemy to so many people? This structure of freedom and democracy and the chance to pursue happiness is a great idea. It's a great idea to embrace, because you have you look at females. Females have rights here. They can. You have other special groups, special interest groups. They have rights. But why do so many people take advantage of these rights? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Which leaves us, like I said, sun rises, folks. No matter what we do as human beings, the sun will stay. A black hole could come, suck it up. But somehow the universe just expands. The light is there in the darkness. This is poetry, folks. I'm feeding you some inspiration here, something that you can hold on to. So if you want to contribute anyway, as I continue to go on, all you have to do is visit www.methodinc.com, methodinc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I just didn't make this stuff up overnight. This just happened. This is reality. There's something happening in the atmosphere, folks. But once again, I got up, the sun was out. On Palm Sunday, rise. So let's get to story number 5. Are all of the U.S. woes, you read these top 8, is anything catching up to us? The history is somebody somewhere got these dolls where they're putting voodoo dolls somewhere and they're jabbing people. This is something happening in reality here. Is there some universe, alternate universe, trying to get our attention, trying to tell us you humans have a responsibility? They said there's a story they're talking about reparations. I think I said, you listen to a lot of these Democrats and they have a lot of feelings. Free this, free that. Some of these politicians are living big time lives. Bernie Sanders is probably still in town. The guy's got millions of dollars in the bank. He was a big supporter of communists and dictators, hanging out with Chavez. Free. This country was not. You look back in the day, nothing was free. Even slaves, when they gave free labor, If you look at the state that we're in right now, and when they're talking about reparations, you look at Jim Crow laws and the hostility of just racial material. I like to say it. It's a material. You touch it, you make it burn, because there's even a story about a Louisiana officer's son arrested over black church firings in 2019. This stuff is still going on. There has been some stories surfacing about the wealth gap between whites, blacks, and minorities. There's a huge gap. The education, you're talking about, there are still some people in America with a third world state of mind. This is a reality. There are still a lot of people in America who still feel the same vibes from that generation. And they're in government. A lot going on in the world right now, but if I can do anything, I can inform you, and I can make you feel a little bit better about the situation. Because I've got a story I'm telling you about somebody. A story. It may not be real to everybody, but it's a good story about rising. that there's even the culture about visiting the underworld and rising to the occasion, folks. It sounds good. Rising even in the depths of death to go to the other side, where all the positive energy is, be at peace with oneself, to understand all the laws of the universe, to coexist with peace, to rest in peace. Is it real? A report surfaced about how many animals are going extinct and how it could take 10 million years to recover from this. There was even a story that surfaced about how millions of birds are dying because of the culture of big city lights and huge buildings. So we have to ask ourselves constantly, do we have responsibilities? Are we intellectually bound? And you look at all the research that has been going on about human beings and our purpose on this planet. Do we have a purpose? You have to, the human body has so many cognitive senses. So much ability. Just the human spirit. Just like the fact that somebody could knock you down tomorrow. You have the ability to invent a weapon. The human mind is a powerful thing, and a lot of people say it's going to waste. So let's move on. The sun puts out a lot of colors. We can see it in rainbows. We can see it. And even in the scripture, you look at the Bibles, you look at some religious texts, it tells you that this is the promises of the divine. So we have to reason through this in mediation today. We have to try to figure out, is there something happening? I have to make you think about this. When people die, where they go, are they trying to tell us to choose the right path, do the right thing? What is right? What is wrong? And we're starting to see it more and more in this new environment about how important it is to try to do the right thing. How important it is to feed your spirit. Positive. Some people enjoy scamming people. Some people enjoy getting over on people. Which leads us to the people who write these stories down, which leads us to story number 6. If you want to contribute any way, you're in the meeting with me, Brian West, where it is my supreme duty every week. I'm working this radio microphone. It's a small mic. It's not gold like Russia's. It's an old cheap microphone, and I'm working it every week. I'm giving my energy. I'm giving myself, my soul. I'm studying, doing my research, doing the right thing, sending in positive vibration. These vocal airwaves are just circulating, folks. They're circulating to the moon, beyond the cosmos. Somebody, some alien somewhere is listening to this message, and he's just grooving. He's sitting back, and he's like, oh my God, the mediator is spitting out positive energy. We must go there, visit these people. Take me to the mediator. Is he a hero? I feel like it, baby. I feel like it. And if you want to be a part of it, if you want to contribute, all you have to do is visit www.methodinc.com, method80.com. I'm not like King Solomon. I don't have 700 wives. I'm a single man. This radio, this is what I'm married to. And I'm giving it to you. Giving it to you. Whew! So if you want to be a part of it, if you want to help me out, all you have to do is visit www.method.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. It's a simple website. It is homemade. I made it just for you. Let's get to story number 6. Because we writers, somebody had to write all of this stuff. I write all the time. I type, write. And we have a journalist, story number 6. Is it safer to be a journalist now rather than years ago? Folks, there's some gossip going on out there, and there's some people in powerful positions who do not want you to know some of the stuff they've done in their past, so they kill journalists, folks. I'm telling you the truth. They kill them. And their whole reputation is on the line. They got big money invested, and they don't want to lose it, and somebody's got some dirt. Somebody has got some dirt. They say WikiLeaks co-founder was arrested in London, and now they're talking about journalism in general, real journalism. Everybody's talking about journalism, folks. What a journalist will take to get a story is rough. But the reality is even like entertainers, journalists have to be protected too. So this story is surfacing, and it's in its top 6 because it made it up to bumped up to number 6 because of the fact that journalism is a big thing across the world. If you do not know how some of the greatest stories, some of these stories I even talked to you about today, journalists have had to dig deep. They've had to get intel. And they've had to figure out what is actually happening. And they're trying freedom of the press. That didn't happen by mistake. It happened because a journalist's job is to inform the public, the people, to write about it. And there's some things happening in the news, folks. There are some stories out there, and journalists are getting heads chopped off and getting. If you talk about power and how it, what did John McCain? But John McCain made some comments about dictators, and he was talking about how when they attack the media, that's a key sign that they've got some dictator in them. But John McCain, rest his soul. But folks, there are some things happening in the world, and there are some people on the front lines for you. But you have to ask yourself, as a human being, is it where everybody's fighting for this righteousness, this spirit? Is it good? We've all failed at something, but the goodwill of mankind. I'm a failure at many. I'm not perfect, folks. I've sinned in my life. I'm a sinner. We all done some terrible things. But a journalist writes. They write. They try to warn people about things. They try to tell people things to inform them, so to prevent bad things from happening. Which leads us to our top 2 stories, folks. If you want to contribute anyway, you're on the media. It'll be Brian Westward. It's my supreme duty to give you the top 8 headlines in developing news stories that made it throughout the week. Stories that may inform you throughout the week so you could understand where we're headed. A neutral feeling, staying in the middle. Not going too far to the right or too far to the left, but staying just balanced, neutral. So if you want to contribute anyway, if you want to help out, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is visit the website, www.method8inc.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Fair shake. I'm giving it to you. Nothing, it's not free, but I'm giving you a choice if you want to help out anyway. If you feel like this product is worth listening to, worth understanding, worth studying, worth giving it your time, www.method8inc.com. We are 8 minutes left in the program. Why? Story number 7. Why are so many people harming themselves and committing suicide? We have to ask ourselves. I told you in this show that there's something happening in the atmosphere. A man lit himself on fire on Pennsylvania Avenue. This story, if you remember it back when there was a story about in the Islamic faith where a guy lit himself on fire in front of the government. And then there's also a story about a former Minnesota Vikings minority owner found dead in his apartment of apparent murder-suicide. Young boy credits Christian show for saving him from suicide. So, and then they're talking about assisted suicide. I don't know if you remember Dr. Kevorkian, but some of his tactics are resurfacing. People are talking about death all around. And you have to ask yourselves, why is life so important? Why is mankind? Do we have a promise as the human species to be on this planet? We have a responsibility, folks. You can look at if you do not understand the cosmic makeup, the DNA structure of a human being, the driving force that we have is that we're here for a reason. And it's not to do all of this to kill each other. We have, some of us still have animal instincts, animal tactics, but we often learn throughout our lives. We learn redemption, forgiveness, and we learn from our mistakes, our lessons. It's a law, common law. Which leads us to the final story that made it to the meter this week. If you want to contribute anyway, if you want to help out, www.method8inc.com, method8.com. This show is only made to inform you, give you an idea. I tried to approach the news. I've always tried to approach the radio with informative action, just trying to be informative and trying to give you a reason to listen to the news. I don't compare myself to anybody else, but I do try to make sure you have an understanding of what's happening around you so you can better yourself. Just like me, I face the same things. I have to make the decision every week to do the right thing, and that's what I try to do. Coming here every Sunday, give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories. So if you want to contribute in any way, all you have to do is visit www.mbthod8inc.com, and you just buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or you can just sponsor a program. Which leads us to the final story that made it to the media this week. How did so many people end up breaking the rules? When you look through all of these scandals, even in the churches, the Catholic Church, you constantly have to ask yourselves, how did this culture of violence just happen overnight? Somehow, some way, people started tapping into a darker force, a demonic force, as some would say, a darker energy, and it somehow spread rapidly, causing a lot of heartache and a lot of pain. If you do not believe me, folks, if you don't think this stuff is real, talk to somebody who has been a victim of drug violence, or you talk to the people who have had drugs in their community, violence, seen death. It is not a pretty picture. It's really not. And you ask yourself is how do we clean this up, or how do we make it better? Some people are painting these pictures of all of this peacefulness. No, evil is all around us. It will always be here. But there are some people who've been cheating, who've been doctoring things up, cheating at this game of life. And it's creating a lot of confusion. Even in politics, you ask yourself, you've been paying your dues, you've been paying your taxes. How in the world is all of this violence in the community? Why are so many people losing their ability to think for themselves? Or what happened to the lessons of gardening, the lessons of motherhood, why are so many people so eager to create a mighty dollar of this vision that they have in their head, that some of us never even, like I told you, I was talking to you about sports and about some of these stories that are surfacing. You have to ask yourself, how did this happen? How did women become so eager to not want to take care of their children? Or how did this happen? I mean, no discredit to the ones who do, but somehow women and became less valued. Somehow we're still in the process of trying to undo things that have happened in the past. And it's taken a lot of work. Some local stories that made it in Ohio: nuclear plants may get financial rescue from the state. A bill banning abortions becomes law in Ohio. McNally's law license is reinstated. Poland Library hosts free French classes. And tomorrow is the final day, is the tax deadline. Folks, I hope you got something out of the show. But if you get anything out of it, it's about rising, understanding that the world, I had to understand at an early age that the world goes on with or without you. And if you got something out of mediation today, it's the main thing is that you fall down, you get up and try to better yourself, because there's a lot going on in the world that a lot of people are trying to patch up and undo. But we as much as we try to save the world, is a simple fact that people are going to do what they want to do. The only thing you can do is try to give them the tools to better themselves and the advice that can keep them from harming and tearing other people's lives apart. Folks, I hope you enjoy the show. I try my best every week to navigate the news just for you. I got to go through over 250 stories every week and navigating the news just for you to figure out which stories are most important in your life and mine. And I uncover some amazing things. I have to encourage myself to keep going. But folks, I want to thank you so much for tuning into the media this week. I hope you got something out of today's show. But like I said, we're approaching a time where once upon a time, people, I'm sure there's still a lot of people out there who believe in the story of resurrection, the ability to rise up, even when you die, pass away, to go into the afterlife, and the positive vibes. You may yourself become a part of the sunshine. Keep shining. I want to thank you so much for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West, and have a good, safe week. And folks, just remember, You yourself will get knocked down, and you will be like Tiger Woods. Get back up and win the Masters. Thank you so much for tuning to the media with me, Brian West. I am out. Have a good week, everybody. And appreciate the sunshine. I'm gone. Have a good week.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The mediator is here.